Hello, everyone, and welcome to SportsKPI's post-match tactical analysis, where we break down the ongoing I-League qualifiers and our analysts share their insights on the game. So today we have Mishal Tanveer, who's a sports KPI analyst, and we have Meet Mandavia, who's a football coach at Kopana. So I think the first match that was happening yesterday was Bhawanipur FC versus Garhwal FC, and I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on this meet. What did you think of the game?
Vishal, would you like to go first, or should I?
Yeah. The Bhawanipur Garhwal FC yet again good. Bhawanipur looks on track for the qualification, while things look bleak for Garhwal. Like it's probably the end of the road for them. A good competitive match wherein both the teams stuck to their respective styles. And at the end of the day, Bhawanipur ran out the deserved winners. They looked the much better team, much better drilled. And, I felt they were the better team at the end of the day.
Yeah. Meet, what are your thoughts? What did you think of the game?
I mean, adding to what Mishal said, like Bhawanipur got the tactics right, like they were spot on, and it's not something that has changed much from their previous game against Bangalore. They have they have the same path, the same goal in approaching the game, and despite having like just 39% of possession, they had like 16 shots. So that's really commendable. And yeah, Garhwal dominated the game in terms of possession. They too had 17 shots, but they could not take all their chances, and they suffered because of that.
Yeah. So, Mishal, I'm interested to hear what are some of the key takeaways that positives that you could take from Bhawanipur's game.
Bhawanipur, again, they look a well-trained, well-drilled side, knowing exactly what they're supposed to do. And I think Shankarlal Chakravarti has trained his team to, play the way they have been playing. Defend well, don't allow penetration through the center. And then once you have the ball back, like once you recover the ball, like hit the counter quickly and transition well. They are exceptionally well. I felt like they're exceptionally well at transitions, especially the attacking transitions. And just like in the last game against Bangalore United, not much possession, but again very effective on the counter attacks. And as from the stats we can see, Bhawanipur had just around 39% possession, but still ultimately the 2 goals paving way for their victory.
Absolutely. Like, Meet, if you see here, it's pretty strange. As if you're a coach of Garhwal FC, you see all the stats are actually coming in your favor here, but you've ended up losing the game. How would you react after a loss like this?
Well, to be honest, like it would be really frustrating to play against Bhawanipur because the way they defend, like Mishal said, like they're very very compact and they don't really let you penetrate. If I may, like I would like to share a screenshot where, like, just to show the shape of the team, and it's not that these guys did not create enough. Garhwal, they had their chances, but Bhawanipur were just too good in terms of maintaining their shape and defending.
No, I can see it, yeah.
Okay, so just the whites are Bhawanipur and the greens are Garhwal. Just look at the shape. Everybody is in the same vertical half. And you can see on the far side, on the right hand side, like they are very very compact. They're not allowing any space, especially in the defensive third. They're making sure everyone's marked over here. So it becomes really difficult to find your man and progress the ball. And they did exactly that. They made it very very difficult for Garhwal to progress.
Absolutely. So if you were a coach of Garhwal, how would you fight? Like, what would your tactics be to fight this?
I think when you have such a defensive and compact side, you would want to use the wings because that's what they were offering. So you would want to keep putting as many crosses in the box, but that's just not it. You need people to attack. So since Garhwal were playing with one striker, you need those center midfielders to get into the box as quickly as possible. To make sure like you have a 3v2 advantage over the center backs and win the headers first time. So yeah, that would be the idea. Or maybe look for cutbacks, because you have two attacking center midfielders. You'd want to push the line up as much as possible and then use your fullbacks for the width, and then try to get a cutback inside for one of the attacking midfielders.
Nice, nice. That's very interesting. So, what do you some of the main talking points that you can take away from this game in terms of tactics?
So other than this, what I really liked was that Bhawanipur's the use of the wingers. So what they particularly do is, I would like to share another screenshot.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Uh, Now this is one of the build-up phase where the right midfielder Raj and Gopi Singh, who's playing on the left midfield, they both come in the center and they allow the fullbacks to go ahead and progress the ball. And this is effectively what they do in transitions as well, is that they narrow the wingers inside, they invert them, and it gives a lot of license for the front to Mola and Adja to, uh, use their movement and disrupt the backline. So this is something really interesting and difficult to deal with, because you have two midfielders already, and along with that, Raj comes from behind. He's there to receive in between the lines, and he's ready to switch the play on the other side. Gopi is there to support from the center. So it's kind of an overload in the center that they create, and it is really interesting.
Absolutely. Vishal, what are your thoughts? What was some of the interesting tactics that you had found from Bhawanipur FC?
Yeah, just adding to what Meet was saying, there was a couple of instances when both the wingers or also the Bhawanipur wingers were also drifting inside, and we could see that they had managed to narrow down the Garwal defense to like a very narrow, and
Yeah.
that allowed the fullbacks to bombard ahead and bring out the crosses. That was like a very interesting tactic from the game.
Nice. And what did you make of Karwal going into the next game from this? How do you think they can work on their finishing? As you can see here, they've taken more than enough shots, and the accuracy was even better than Bhawanipur over here. But unfortunately, they weren't able to take the game in their hands. So, what advice would you give to them?
Garwal, I feel they're quite unfortunate. Like in one way, they're unfortunate because all round they're a very good team. They look a good team, with young players. And however, it's in the attacking third that they're really struggling. Even though we see that they have taken a lot of shots. Shafir, the number 8, he, if I'm right, he took around 5 shots from outside the box, which although good shots, but not enough to threaten Shilton Paul.
Okay.
So in the attacking third, there seems to be a lack of ideas. And even Meet was mentioning about making use of like the way Bhawanipur was defending, the need of using the flanks more. I have something that I would like to share regarding the number, like the crosses that have crosses that Garwal put in. And I felt like there was a genuine lack of quality in the crosses.
Okay.
I'll just so if we look at the zone wise crossing, we'll see that there were almost 12 crosses that came in, and whenever they were able to there was a quality cross coming in, it either resulted in a shot or even the goal was scored from a good cross. Apart from that, the crossing from wide areas was extremely poor, I felt.
So, who do you feel was most efficient in this area?
The efficient or like most inefficient, I think Pratik Lama, the right back, he had like a lot of opportunity to bring out good crosses. Like there was one instance in the game when Bala Hassan found him in acres of space, and in spite of that, like his cross actually deflected off the first defender.
Yeah.
So a bit more quality in that in the wide areas will be very helpful for
Nice.
Garwal.
Okay. Take a look at the goals from the game, and I want to hear what you guys have to say and what your insights are about the game. So, this is the first goal of the game. Nice. So, Meet, what did you make of that? I actually thought there was a small call for offside over there as well. So, what did you think?
I think yeah, the backline was kind of they were caught sleeping, and they were clearly not aware of the players' positioning. Both Adja and Mola both were unmarked, and yeah, I mean it was just a simple pass over the top, and they just could not. They were not aware enough to track that, and
Yeah.
Adja was quite composed for like just before finishing. Like he knew what he was doing. He had support from his fellow striker, but yeah, he knew what he was doing. And then obviously it had to be a goal.
Yeah,
Shortly.
I like that he had an opportunity to pass, but instead of doing that, he took on the confidence and finished it himself. I like that. Mishal, what do you make of this?
Yeah, again, like we were mentioning about the movement of Willis Plaza in the previous podcast. Uh, and very similar, I felt like, Ajay has also got the similar quality of, finding that little pocket of space between the two, like central defenders and making the right move at the right time. I felt, again, the angle did not allow, camera angle did not allow us to see if it was an offside indeed. But again, I think he might have timed the run perfectly also.
Fortunately, there was no replay for us to even confirm if it was offside or not. But yeah, let's take a look at the next goal of the game. Yeah, this looks like lazy defending. You have five defenders in the box, and the strikers having an open shot over there. Mishal, what do you make of this?
Yeah, like a lot of coaches these days, emphasize a lot on scanning, like where your opponent is. If you look at the left back of Garwal, he wasn't even aware of the man behind him.
Yeah,
He hasn't even seen. If you go back and see the clip once again, he hasn't even noticed that Pankaj Mola was sneaking behind him.
yeah.
So again, that maybe we can put this down to lazy defending. But again, good, like good find by Anu to put that cross in at the back post.
Yeah. So it's just down to poor man awareness and man marking. Meet, what else were you able to make of that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like the left back's awareness comes, like you need to blame that. But before that, like before this move started, Mola was, and this is what credit to Mola for doing this, and he did it in the last match as well. He starts in the center, and he always gets behind the left back at the far post. If you see the against Bangalore as well, he scored at the far post from the deflection. So
Hmm.
he knows how to lose his marker. He knows how to get behind and pick the blind spot where the team is not aware of his presence. Other than that, I think the number 5 centre back who was trying to block the cross, he could have done better. He, if you see, he had no intention to go and tackle. So he was just there standing his ground, and he was just trying to jockey with the player, and his idea was to just block the cross. But again, like if you see from the technical point of view, his steps were a bit too big. So you want the steps to be a little shorter when you want to stay with the player, so that the final cross when he's delivering, you can stretch your leg and you can lunge in and you can block the cross. But yeah, I mean he could not match the angle right to block the cross, and the cross was precise, like it was perfect. And yeah, credit to Mola for getting away from his man on the
Do
back.
you think the goalkeeper could have done a little bit more in that situation?
It's like from the position where he took the header, it's all about reactions. Like he did not have the time to judge because his attention is also on the ball, so he's also not aware. So I mean, we're talking about milliseconds over here, and the reaction time. So it's really difficult. Although the angle was difficult to head because it was a little acute at the far post. But yeah, I mean, can't really blame the goalkeeper in this
Yeah,
situation.
yeah, yeah. So this was the goal by Garwal FC when it's sort of like a consolation goal for them. So this was the final goal by Garwal FC where it's sort of like a consolation goal for them. So let's take a look. So you see that goal seems like it's all completely down to defensive errors, not completely. Everybody was not in the moment. Nobody was looking at the ball. Everyone was completely lazy, and a simple error like that cost them the goal. So, Meet, what did you make of that goal?
Yeah, like if you see the situation, like I believe three players were close to getting back to the ball after, the first chance. The left back and the goalkeeper, they both made a move, but they just stopped abruptly. If even one of them continued, maybe things could have been different. And yeah, and then like again awareness. The both the centre backs, like the first one is obviously looking at the ball, but the player behind him who was marking another striker or another winger, I don't know who there was. So he could have done better by coming close to this one and closing him down. But yeah, I mean the lack of awareness and just like not reacting. The reaction time was too slow for them.
Yeah, Michelle, what did you make of the goal? What did you think about it?
Yeah, like I felt it's like another instance of a like lack of concentration. Again, we are talking about that sunny day in Kolkata and like 75 minutes of, it strikes me always like, because I've been like, to a game in Kolkata at like that point of time, 12:30. It's not easy. Players are all drained out, and like, Bhawanipur defended very well till that point, and then I felt it's a lack of, momentary lapse of concentration.
Yeah. So, Meet, what did you think was probably the biggest strengths of Bhawanipur during the game that helped them achieve their victory?
I think the chemistry of front four, what the understanding, the movement. I mean, I've seen it on multiple points where uh, like the understanding between the four players. One player would probably try to stretch the backline far so that there's no offside, while the others will get the time to exploit the central region. And just yeah, like the team knows how to operate as a system, and everything, both in both the phases, defense and offense. And like Michelle said, offensive transitions are their strength.
Yeah, yeah. So, Michelle, what do you think is something that they can actually work on? Maybe something that you noticed in the game that they can work on for the following fixture?
Like again, since they are like, very compact in the in the central areas, I would love to see like how they come out and defend in the wide areas. Like if someone is creating like overloads on the wing, I didn't see that much from Garwal, but maybe with the big game coming up next, I think that would be an area where, because the three proper crosses that came into the box were, uh, created some havoc in the like in the 18 yard. So I think that is one area they can work on.
Yes.
And apart from that, like, like they look very strong.
Yeah. So, who was your key performer of the game or man of the match for you, Michelle?
Man of the match should be Ajay, I guess. His, and at the same time, like I'm also, I would even maybe give it to Shilton Paul also.
Okay, how come? What do you think he did well in the game?
The way he comes out to collect the crosses, especially, the confidence with which he comes out, that gives a lot of, confidence for the players up in front of him also. I said, like, even in it's the defense line or further ahead, the confidence that he gives out is very, it's immense. And
Yeah.
then the way, he has a command about himself. And I think that is helping Bhawanipur a lot, making good use of his experience.
So, Meet, what about you? Who is your man of the match and why?
Yeah, I think Ajah for his movement of how to disrupt the backline, and yeah, Shilton was once again like amazing. Even left back Bagai, who was brilliant in all the 1v1 duels. He also assisted the ball which went over the backline of Garwal, and he dealt with crosses well. So yeah, I think if not for Shilton Paul or Ajay, it would go to the left back Bagai for me.
Nice, nice. Okay, so that's it for this game. Let's move on to the following game of match day 3. That is Bangalore United versus Rrfc. The score ended in a 1-1 draw. Uh, this for BUFC, it seems like a opportunity of drop points for them, right? So what do you make of that, Mishal? What did you think of the game?
I think, yet another, the same old story for Bangalore United. Like dominating possession, dominating much of the game, but at the end of the day, no goals to show, like except for the last minute, lucky escape. A good, a good display from ARA, a much improved display from ARA when compared to the last game. But overall, things look bleak for both the teams. Bangalore United having played 3 and with just 4 points on the board, I think like much of their chances are done now. ARA also, I don't think, like from the performances so far, I think it's going to be difficult for them as well.
So, Meet, from the Bangalore United game, what did you make of it? What was the most interesting aspects of it to you?
Yeah, so ARA had like a clear plan. They came to defend, and they did not really want to test the goalkeeper. They were trying to take the chances on counter, and like again, like they took 9 shots, out of which only 1 was on target. And if you see the game, most of them were from the outside of the box. So they were very keen on taking early shots because they could not afford to, waste a lot of time on counter and wait for the Bengaluru players to get back. So as soon as the striker or the winger, Swami or whoever used to get the ball, they used to try to dribble, cut inside, and just have a go at the goal. From Bengaluru's point of view, uh, it's like they were dominating possession. They do really well in the build-up phase. They get the ball ahead. They have some good interchanges in position and rotations, and you see it throughout in the middle third and their defensive third. But just when it comes to the final third, they fail to create. They have so many men going up. They have enough players to support, but there's nobody really there to create from the back for them. So yeah, uh, that's basically the highlight of the game.
Yeah, so something I noticed from the previous game that has happened sort of here as well is like Bangalore United is taking lots of shots, but the conversion on percentage on target is actually very low throughout this tournament so far. So I think that's probably the biggest weakness in this tournament. Mishal, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. The quality in the final third has been missing, and for them to have any chance in the upcoming games, also, I think they'll need to address that. Uh, uh, I think they are, missing a foreign striker in this case. Like if you take a look at the other 4 teams, they all have like a foreign striker, and Bangalore United are the only team that's gone. Although they have Opoku, who's but playing a much more, like on the wings or like further deeper. I think they the likes of Naro, Shrestha, like they haven't been able to deliver.
So, Meet, let's talk tactics about the game. What are some of the most interesting things you were able to notice that the coaches chose to go ahead with?
Uh, so what I really liked is that like ARA addressed those defensive issues that they had from the previous game, and like if you would see the lineup, they showed they were playing in 3-5-2, but traditionally they were defending in a 4-4-1-1 with uh, Govind Swami, Karthik Govind Swami playing behind the striker, Ezzy, and then they were just 2 banks of 4, and they were really they had a really really good plan. They made sure that all the center mids were blocked, all the center mids were man marked, so the midfield line of ARA was really active in defending. Like if you look at the performance from Tigga and Cedric Fernandez, they were spectacular. They pressed every single time the center midfielders of Bengaluru got the ball. Like whenever they got the ball, they were pressed by these two. Uh, Even the wingers, Swami and Shrike, Shrikotan, like both of them were fantastic. So the midfield line did the fantastic job in that way, and they had things under control. They made sure that Bengaluru could not create much, at least till the 75th minute, with just a couple of chances. For Bengaluru, again, They started with using their fullbacks, pushing up, right back especially, and yeah, I mean they failed to get the ball to Opoko, who's like the main, who's like the target man and who also creates for them. So they failed to get him on the ball early on, and it, it it came very late in the game when he started moving in the central area where he started creating and assisting for the team.
Yes. So, Vishal, any thoughts about that? What are your insights from in terms of tactics about the game?
Yeah, I think seconding to like what Meet was saying, that's where they really improved ARA, because from when we compare with the last game, they were very hesitant to like close down players. We even talked about how not closing down Plaza resulted in the third game in the last game. But today, if we look at the game, they were closing down the players much quicker. There's one instance that I would like to share. So this instance is from the last game. So if you look at this instance, you'll just see how the center back drops off instead of closing down the player, and then there's penetration. But when it came to yesterday, they were closing down much quicker. Like the midfield, especially as Meet mentioned, they were very tight on the players, not allowing them enough time and space. And I think that really helped off. You see, like every instance they were putting the pressure again. So this 10-15 seconds of clips, if we notice, every instance there is pressure, and then ultimately that forced Bangalore United to like kick long. So I think that is where they improved the most when compared with the last game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The first game was actually kind of a little bit disappointing to see them play because of the scoreline that it ended up with. But what did you make of Mishal's analysis?
Yeah, like that's perfect. That's spot on. Like the midfield line, they pressed every single player as soon as they got on the ball. They did not give them time. When they were receiving on the back, they did not give them time to turn. So they were forced to play behind. And eventually you would see like the defense line going on the top and trying to play a long ball to the striker where the ARA defense would recover the ball and retain the possession. But yeah, I mean, if you look at Bengaluru's decision making in the final third when they got the ball, was quite poor. They had some good crossing opportunities, which they did not take. And I would like to share something like if so, they always used to have 3 to 4 players on the opposite end of the pitch, like the opposite side of the ball, and who would be trying to attack the final third, who would be going. But the only solution to this would be putting an early cross because ARA made it very difficult for Bengaluru to get higher up the pitch. So I think I saw around 3 early crosses from the team, and that was it. They could have done much more damage. Also, these 4 players could have pushed the line a little higher up so that these fullbacks can deliver better crosses from a little deeper area. That's what something Bengaluru failed to do. Other than that, I just like ARA, like they were so strict with their policy uh, of going on counters and all. They did not like really focus on anything else. They had opportunities and set pieces that I feel they ignored. So that's something that they can do for the upcoming games. I'll just share one picture. Okay, so I'll just share that uh, ARA, like they could have had more opportunities from set pieces, which they ignored. So that's something that they can improve for the upcoming games. Like if you see the free kick over here, which they had, uh, everybody thought that it's going to be a direct free kick, and that's what as he went for Stanley, he decided to go over the goalkeeper. And if you see, Bengaluru had committed 6 players near the wall, and the 2 players over here are they're not aware about the positioning of the players behind them, who are completely unmarked, number 30 and 13. So that's something that it like these are all game moments. It depends on the opposition where you have to show your awareness. You have to realize that okay, this is the situation that I'm presented with. Maybe what I have practiced or maybe what I've gone with in training, I can just tweak it a little bit based on this situation, because it can be an advantage. So yeah, like if Stanley could have paid attention and could have gone for a lob ball or a cross instead of going direct, this could have been a great opportunity for them to score.
Nice, nice. So I bring up Rrfc's goal because let's take a look at it. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
what did you make of this, Vishal?
Again, nice work from the right winger there. Srikutan, we were mentioning about how he was the best player in the last match, even though he came in only in the second half. Again, good dynamic movement. And then I felt like the Amay was a bit, further inside and not aware of the man sneaking behind him. I felt that I noticed the same trend even in the previous game also, where Amay, in order to block off passing options and all, like he was, further inside always. I think Meet might, give us a better idea on that.
Meet, what did you think? What did you think about the goal?
So I'll like just before this goal
Yeah.
that happened, I would like to show like just the organization and how Bengaluru approaches a situation when defending. Okay. So this is just before the goal. What happened? Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So you realize that when Bengaluru defends, mostly the front three, they're the last to contribute in getting back. So the responsibility lies between the midfield three and the back four. Now, due to this, they compromise on the width. And so when a team switches quickly, they have a difficulty in moving the shape from one side to the other. Now, that's what exactly they did over here. So number 19, who's I think Swami over here, he quickly switches to their number 7 over here, who's Pratik. And you see that Oliver was ahead, so Pratik could like easily receive it without anyone intervening, and then he played it to the right winger, sorry.
Yeah.
So also if you look over here, number 24 was the left back for ARA. He's not being tracked by the left winger, the right winger of Bengaluru. So because of this, the midfield three have to work very hard in order to compromise for the width. And and because of that, when you see the goal again, like the right winger of ARA, who's I think Srikutan, like he's easily able to cut inside. He's easily able to get inside because he's in a 1v1 situation against Bengaluru's left midfielder, the Ali Mondal, and because of which the number 7 is not picked, because the defensive midfielder Arun has to cover. So because he goes to cover his left back, because there's no left winger coming back, Pratik gets like a free roll, like he picks up the ball and he gets to take the shot. Because of that, like obviously there's an unfortunate deflection, and one thing leads to another.
Yeah, and that's very
just adding on to what Meet was saying, I think like very rightly said by Meet, this I've noticed in several instances when there is a big like gap between the Bangalore United midfield and defense line, especially when the defense line is dropping off. There is obvious, like a lot of times we notice like how there is a big space that is opening up between the midfield and defense line. And this, I guess this is also another instance where that free man in the midfield, the ARA free man in the midfield, exploited that space. And number 19, Pratik Swami was able to find him perfectly in that space.
So this foul looked way more than just a yellow card to me. The keeper's brought his leg up all the way up to the player's head level. So what did you make of this, Meet?
Fernandez.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, it could have been red easily. If he went for the face, then clearly it's a red. I think a similar thing happened where Opoku got lucky just after the halftime, if you see, where ARA's left back Vaskar, he was on his head like while jumping and contesting for the aerial duel, and they both fell on the ground, and then Opoku just tried to kick his head, and both got a yellow. I think it was quite unfair, but I think he could have been easily sent off for that. So yeah, like similar situation over there as well.
What about you, Misha? What did you think about the foul deservingly? Did you think it was yellow or red?
Not sure about a red, but again, like a costly mistake to make at the end. Again, but looking at the goal, I felt that there is that one moment where again the defenders were backing off instead of closing down, and that allowed William Opoku to turn, pick out that right pass for which ended up in the penalty and the foul. So
Yeah.
again, ARA going back to the same mistakes again.
Nice. So Bangalore United were able to convert the penalty and save themselves a draw literally in the last second of the game. So I'm interested in what you think were RRFC's biggest strengths and weaknesses in this game, Vishal.
Strengths was again the way they cleared their defensive issues, especially in the midfield. The way the midfield was they were working as a unit to close down opponents that was missing in the previous game. And the weakness for them is basically what they did towards the end. They undid like whatever good they did. Again, I felt like they went back into the exact same mode. They were repeating the same kind of mistakes they made in the first game after the 70th minute. I think from a strengths perspective, it was that they cleared up their defensive issues, especially with the way the midfield block performed. The two midfielders, Tiga and Jordan, along with Nikhil Swami, Govind Swami, Karthik Govind Swami. They closed down the opponents very quickly, and that helped a lot. But and from a weakness, I think they went back to making the same mistakes they did in the first game. Especially after the 70th minute, they were making the same mistakes they did in the first game. Especially after the substitution of Shoaib Ahmed, and when Karthik was shifted over to the right. Then the midfield was not closing down quickly, and then that resulted in Bangalore United, penetrating through the middle.
Yeah. So, Meet, what did you think? What are some positive takeaways that RRFC can take away from this game? Because first game they've lost and now they've had a draw. It doesn't look good for them.
Yeah. If you don't mind, like before, like I talk about, like in summary, can I just address some defensive issues of ARA?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So where they went wrong, like what Mishal said, just a little bit of elaborating. So they were comfortably winning 1-0, and I think the coach Vivek Nagul, he took a little conservative approach in trying to defend that lead, and the shape was good, everything was working well for them, and then they tried to change into a more defensive shape, and they went back to 5-3-2 instead of defending in a 4-4-1, which they were doing earlier. So I would just like to show like what problems they face because of that. So we know that like Bengaluru's fullbacks like to get ahead. Can you see the screen? So yeah, like after changing from 4-4-1 to 5-3-2, one of the things that happened is that Bengaluru could easily receive between the lines because the midfield three could not. They had to stretch a lot, so they could not cope up in maintaining compact distance. Because of this, you can see over here, Opoku is receiving the ball quite easily. And if you see on the far side, right wing back and the right centre back, there's quite some gap between them, because of which Bengaluru's right back could make a run behind them. And a similar thing happened in the goal that they scored. So, just one second. Yeah, over here, if you see. Like throughout the game, they were pressing the players who were receiving the ball. They were making sure they don't get turning time. Now over here, it's the first mistake that they made was this number 4 mistake, Kumar's mistake. What he does is that as Opoku gets back to receive the ball, he goes halfway through, and now at this point he's kind of he's double-minded. He does not know whether he wants to go all the way or he wants to protect the back line. So he leaves a lot of gap behind him, which the Bangalore United exploits. And if you see the run again, it's between the right wing back and the right centre back. So the shape cost them. And what Michal said, like they had a good plan, everything was working well, and they just made one mistake which they were not making initially, and it cost them the game.
Nice. So, Meet, who is the man of the match for of this game for you? The best performers.
I would say it's a little difficult, but yeah, I mean, if I see just from the commitment and like the work rate and not looking at pure numbers, I think Tega and Fernandes were man of the match. The way they held the midfield line for ARA, they did a commendable work until like the last minute, but they couldn't have done much because of the formation change and all the whole dynamics of the game changed. But until like 75 minutes, they were fantastic. Even Karthik for me was like the midfield three was fantastic. So anyone, Tega, Karthik or Fernandes would be the man of the match for me.
And I agree to that.
Garhwal FC have been knocked out of contention while Mohammedan is joint on top with Bhawanipur FC because both the teams have won their matches so far, and they're both set to take on each other in the next round, and this will most probably determine who we're going to see qualify for the I-League. ARA and Bangalore United have no option but to win their remaining matches and hope that the others either draw or lose their games so that they can qualify. So it looks like it's going to be an exciting match day next round. And thank you for everyone who's tuned in to watch. And thank you, Mishal. Thank you, Meet, for being a part of this episode.
Thank you, Abhay. Thank you for
Pleasure. Thank you.